The sun was sinking low when Marcus Johnson turned onto Jefferson Street, his work boots scraping against the cracked sidewalk. He had just finished a long shift at the factory, his shirt clinging to him with sweat, his mind already picturing the comfort of his little two-bedroom house. That house wasn't just walls and a roof. It was the proof of every hour he'd sweated, every night he'd stayed late working overtime. But as he drew closer, his heart skipped. Something was wrong. Right outside his gate, scattered across the dusty patch of yard, were piles of belongings. His belongings. His television set leaned dangerously against a broken chair. His framed photographs lay face down in the dirt. Clothes were strewn in plastic bags, some already torn open. Even his mattress, the one he saved 3 paychecks to buy, was propped up against the fence like abandoned trash. Marcus froze. The bag he carried from work slipped from his hand, hitting the ground with a dull thud. No, this can't be real, he muttered, his voice trembling. A group of kids across the street giggled and pointed, whispering to each other as they watched the scene. Marcus's neighbors peeked through curtains or stood on porches, staring but not daring to come close. Gathering what strength he had left, Marcus pushed the gate open. Inside, he saw shadows moving around. Voices laughed, clinked glasses, as though there was a party going on. A stranger's voice rang out, "Yo, turn that music up!" Rage boiled in Marcus's chest. He stepped forward and banged on the door. After a moment, a tall man he'd never seen before opened it. The man leaned casually against the doorframe, chewing on a toothpick, smirking. "What the hell is going on?" Marcus demanded. "Why are my things outside? This is my house." The stranger shrugged. "Not anymore, bro. Landlord said you gone. He rented this place to us now." Marcus blinked in disbelief. "What? I pay my rent every month. I just paid last week." The man laughed, shaking his head. "Ain't my problem. You should call your landlord if you got questions. But as far as I'm concerned, this our house now. You need to move along." The words sliced through Marcus like a knife. His home, the place he worked himself to the bone for, was gone, just like that. Marcus pulled out his phone with trembling hands. Maybe this was all a mistake. Maybe the stranger was lying. But as soon as he unlocked the screen, he saw it, the message sitting there like a slap in the face. "You didn't meet the new conditions. I've taken my house back. Don't bother coming inside." The words blurred in his vision. His rent had always been on time, his bills always paid. What new conditions? He had never received any notice. His stomach twisted as he realized this wasn't a mistake. It was deliberate. He looked up at the stranger still leaning on the doorframe. "Where's Mr. Harris?" Marcus demanded. "Tell him to come here. I need to hear from him myself." The man chuckled. "Old man ain't here. He gave us the keys, took the money, and said you was out. Guess you didn't play your cards right, homie." Marcus's fists tightened. His voice cracked between anger and disbelief. "That man knows I've never missed a rent in 3 years. He can't just throw me out like I'm nothing." The stranger leaned closer, his smirk turning cold. "Well, looks like he just did." And with that, he slammed the door in Marcus's face. Marcus stood there, his chest heaving. From the corner of his eye, he saw neighbors whispering. Mrs. Jenkins, the elderly woman next door, came out clutching her shawl. "Marcus, baby. I'm so sorry," she said softly, eyes full of pity. "I saw them moving in your things earlier. I tried to ask questions, but they told me to mind my business." "Didn't you hear from the landlord? No notice, no warning?" Marcus asked desperately. She shook her head. "Not a thing. You know Mr. Harris don't care about nobody but his pockets. He's been talking about selling or raising rents. Maybe you got caught in the middle." Marcus rubbed his forehead, fighting back tears. I worked too hard for this, Miss Jenkins. This is all I got. Another neighbor called out from his porch. Man, Harris dirty. He been pulling this on folks. You ain't the first he's thrown out. The truth weighed heavy. Marcus wasn't just dealing with bad luck. He was up against greed, and he was already losing. Marcus sat down beside his belongings. He picked up a cracked picture frame with a photo of his late mother. She had always told him, "Son, make a home for yourself. A man without a home is a man without peace." Now even that was slipping away. His heart ached as he realized he had nowhere to sleep that night. The thought of curling up on the sidewalk beside his own mattress brought a wave of shame. He called the landlord. Straight to voicemail. He tried again and again until finally it rang once before cutting off. Mr. Harris was dodging him. Marcus clenched his jaw. All right. If he won't come to me, I'll go to him. The next morning, Marcus marched to Mr. Harris's office building downtown. He hadn't even showered. He just stuffed what little he could carry into a bag and went straight there. Inside, Harris sat behind his polished desk, his gold watch gleaming. He looked up with mild annoyance. Marcus, I was expecting you sooner or later. You threw me out my house, Marcus snapped. No warning, no eviction notice, nothing. You can't just do that. Harris leaned back in his chair. It's my property. I set new rules, and you didn't meet them. What rules? Marcus demanded. I raised the rent last month. Notices went out. If you didn't see yours, that's your problem. A man offered me double what you pay. Business is business. Marcus's chest tightened. You know I've been loyal, always on time, and you replace me like I'm trash. Harris smirked. Don't take it personal. It's just money. You'll find somewhere else. Marcus slammed his hand on the desk. I'll take this to court. Harris laughed coldly. Court? You got money for a lawyer? Boy, don't waste your time. Marcus stormed out, but inside, fire burned. He wasn't giving up. For the next few days, Marcus slept in his car. His belongings were still piled outside the house, and by the second night, thieves had taken half of them. His TV, his microwave, even his shoes, gone. Sitting in the car, Marcus whispered, Lord, why me? I did everything right. Why do I feel like I'm being punished? But even in the darkness, his spirit refused to break. He began writing down everything that happened, the date he was thrown out, Harris's words, the missing eviction notice. He knew this wasn't just about him anymore. Harris had done this to others, and somebody needed to stand up. One evening, Marcus's childhood friend, David, spotted him near the gas station. Man, what you doing out here? David asked, shocked. Marcus sighed. Got thrown out. Harris kicked me from my own house. I'm living out my car now. David shook his head. That old crook been pulling scams for years. Come stay at my place till you figure things out. You don't gotta be out here like this. Grateful but still ashamed, Marcus accepted. Sleeping on David's couch was better than the cold seat of his car. But in his heart, Marcus swore, I will get my house back, or make him pay for what he's done. With David's encouragement, Marcus visited a community legal aid center. There, he met attorney Lisa Green, a sharp-tongued black woman who listened carefully as Marcus explained. No written notice, no court order, and he tossed your belongings outside. Lisa's eyes narrowed. That's an illegal eviction. He can't do that. Marcus leaned forward. So I can fight this? Lisa nodded. Not only can you fight, you can win. We'll file a case against him. People like Harris count on tenants not knowing their rights. But you stood up. For the first time in weeks, Marcus felt hope flicker. Word spread quickly in the neighborhood. Folks Marcus had never spoken much to came forward with their own stories. Harris had doubled their rent, threatened them, thrown some out without mercy. At the barber shop, old Mr. Curtis said, "That man ain't nothing but a vulture, always preying on working folks. Marcus, you better take him down." The community rallied. Some offered statements, others donated small amounts to help Marcus with court fees. For once, he didn't feel alone. When Harris was served papers, his smug mask cracked. He called Marcus late at night. "You think you smart, boy? You gonna regret this. I got money, I got lawyers. You got nothing." Marcus gripped the phone tightly. "I got the truth, and I'm not scared of you anymore." Harris chuckled darkly before hanging up. But Marcus knew this fight was only beginning. Despite his brave words, Marcus wrestled with fear. Lying awake on David's couch, he thought, what if Harris wins? What if I lose everything? He heard his mama's voice in memory. A man without a home is a man without peace. Marcus whispered to himself, "I won't let him take my peace. Not again." Lisa prepared Marcus tirelessly. "Answer only what you're asked. Stay calm. Harris's lawyers will try to rattle you. But remember, you have the law on your side." Marcus nodded, but nerves gnawed at him. This was bigger than him now. He carried not just his case, but the voice of every tenant Harris had wronged. The courtroom buzzed with tension. Harris sat at the defendant's table in a sharp suit, flanked by two lawyers. He glanced at Marcus and sneered. Lisa whispered, "Ignore him. Focus." The judge entered, and the battle began. Harris's lawyers painted Marcus as irresponsible, claiming he ignored notices. But when Lisa demanded proof of those notices, none appeared. Marcus held his breath. For the first time, Harris's confidence faltered. During cross-examination, Lisa asked, "Mr. Harris, did you file a legal eviction with the court before removing my client's belongings?" Harris shifted uncomfortably. I didn't need to. He wasn't paying enough." The judge's eyes narrowed. "That's not how the law works, sir." Marcus felt a surge of relief. Harris's lies were unraveling. After court, reporters outside asked Marcus questions. He hesitated, but then he spoke boldly. "This isn't just about me. It's about every working man and woman who paid their rent, who did everything right, but still got treated like trash. We got rights. And we're not gonna let greedy landlords step on us anymore." Cheers erupted from the small crowd that had gathered. For the first time since that painful evening he found his belongings on the street, Marcus felt like more than a victim. He was becoming a voice, a fighter, a man his mama would be proud of. And though the case wasn't over yet, he knew he had already won something much bigger. Though Marcus had spoken boldly outside the courthouse, sleep still refused to visit him that night. Lying on David's couch, he stared at the ceiling fan spinning slowly above him. Every creak in the house, every car passing outside, felt like a reminder of how unsettled his life had become. David came out from his bedroom and found Marcus still awake. "Man, you gotta get some rest. You got a long fight ahead." Marcus shook his head. "I close my eyes and all I see is my stuff in the dirt. My mama's picture broken. Harris laughing at me." David sat down. "Listen, Marcus. You stronger than you think. Harris banking on you giving up. But you didn't. You in court. You got a lawyer. You got people standing with you. That's something." Marcus sighed. "Yeah, but what if I lose?" David looked him dead in the eyes. "Then at least you fought. And sometimes fighting is the victory." 2 days later, Marcus walked to the store to grab some bread and milk. A sleek black car pulled up beside him. The tinted window rolled down, and Harris sat in the back seat with a sly grin. "You still walking these streets like a homeless man?" Harris taunted. "I told you before, you can't win against me." Marcus stopped but kept his head high. "I'm not afraid of you." Harris leaned forward. "You should be. You see, people like me got connections. People like you. You're replaceable. Just another broke tenant who don't know his place." Marcus clenched his jaw. "You wrong. I ain't broke. I got dignity. And that's something you can't buy with your dirty money." Harris smirked, and the window rolled back up as the car sped off. But Marcus knew Harris wasn't finished with his games. Attorney Lisa Green visited David's house to go over documents. She carried a folder thick with papers. "Marcus," she said firmly, "Harris has tried to bury us with paperwork. But his greed left trails. Look here," she spread out receipts and tenant statements on the table. "No proper notices, no signatures, nothing legal. We got him cornered." Marcus leaned forward, his eyes scanning the documents. "So I got a chance." Lisa gave him a rare smile. "More than a chance. If we stay sharp, we'll expose him for the fraud he is." David clapped Marcus on the shoulder. "See, told you, man. You just gotta trust the process." For the first time in weeks, Marcus felt a real seed of hope take root inside him. When the next court date came, Lisa brought in neighbors who had faced the same cruelty. Mrs. Jenkins spoke first, her voice trembling but strong. "That man doubled my rent out of nowhere," she told the judge. "When I asked why, he told me, pay up or get out. I'm living on a fixed income. I almost lost my home." Another tenant, Mr. Curtis from the barber shop, testified too. "Harris don't care about nobody. He kicked families out in the middle of winter. Kids sleeping in cars. He did Marcus the same way." The courtroom grew heavy with silence as the stories poured out. Harris shifted in his seat, his lawyer whispering frantically in his ear. Marcus watched, pride swelling. His pain was giving others courage to speak. During cross-examination, Harris grew agitated. "These people lying. They just bitter because they couldn't afford my properties." Lisa stood calmly. "Mr. Harris, are you suggesting every tenant here is lying, while you, the one profiting, are the only one telling the truth?" Harris stammered. That's exactly what I'm saying." The judge raised an eyebrow. "Interesting." Marcus couldn't hide a small smile. Harris's arrogance was digging his own grave. Finally, it was Marcus's turn to speak. His palms sweated as he took the stand, but when Lisa nodded at him, he drew strength. "I worked double shifts at the factory just to keep that roof over my head," he said, his voice steady. "I paid my rent on time, every time. And yet I came home one evening to find my life scattered on the ground like trash. Not just things, memories. My mama's picture, my books, my clothes. All out in the dirt because one man's greed said I wasn't good enough." The courtroom was silent. Marcus swallowed hard, his eyes moist. "This ain't just about me. It's about every working man and woman who does everything right and still gets stepped on. We deserve better." People in the gallery murmured in agreement. Harris glared at him, but Marcus no longer felt small. At the end of the hearing, the judge leaned forward, her expression serious. "This court takes unlawful eviction very seriously. I've heard enough to proceed with a full review. Until then, Mr. Harris is barred from leasing or selling the property in question." Marcus's heart leaped. It wasn't over yet, but it was a victory. His house couldn't be handed away while the case was ongoing. Lisa whispered, "That's a big step, Marcus. We're moving in the right direction." That weekend, the neighborhood held a rally in front of Harris's office. Signs waved, "Justice for Tenants," and "Stop Illegal Evictions." Marcus stood at the front, speaking into a microphone David had borrowed. "We're not powerless. They think they can take from us because we're just working folks. But we got each other, and together, we stronger than any landlord's greed." The crowd erupted in cheers. Marcus felt energy surging through him. What started as his personal pain was becoming a movement. Harris, now under public fire, grew desperate. He called Marcus one night. "Let's settle this," Harris said quickly. "I'll give you some money. Drop the case. Forget all this nonsense." Marcus tightened his grip on the phone. "You think this is about money? You destroyed my home, my dignity. This is bigger than a payoff. I won't sell out." Harris cursed under his breath. "You'll regret this, boy. Mark my words." Marcus hung up, his resolve stronger than ever. The final phase of the trial loomed. Lisa prepared her closing arguments, while Marcus spent late nights writing in his notebook. He wanted to be ready, not just to win, but to speak truth that could never be ignored. On the morning of court, David drove him downtown. "This it, man. Time to finish what you started." Marcus looked out the window at the rising sun. His stomach knotted, but his spirit felt steady. "I'm ready." As they pulled up to the courthouse, Marcus whispered a prayer. No matter what happened inside, he knew he had transformed from the man who once sat crying beside his broken belongings. He wasn't just fighting for a house anymore. He was fighting for justice. The courthouse buzzed with tension as Marcus walked in, his heart pounding. Harris sat on the opposite side, his suit crisp, his eyes cold. Reporters filled the back rows, their pens ready. Lisa whispered to Marcus, "Stay calm. We've built a strong case. Today, truth wins." When the judge entered, the room fell silent. This was it. The day everything would be decided. Lisa stood, her voice firm and clear. "Your Honor, this is not just about Marcus Johnson. This is about the abuse of power. Mr. Harris evicted a hard-working man without notice, without process, and without respect for the law. He violated his rights, his dignity, and his humanity. We cannot allow greed to be stronger than justice. Today, this court has the chance to make an example. Landlords cannot throw out tenants like trash." Her words hung heavy in the air. Even the judge's expression softened slightly. Harris's lawyers tried to argue, but their words stumbled. When the judge asked for proof of eviction notices, they had none. When asked about tenants' testimonies, they brushed them aside, but the stories were too strong to ignore. Finally, Harris himself took the stand. His arrogance betrayed him. "They pay me too little," he snapped. "If they can't afford it, they don't deserve to stay." The judge frowned deeply. The gallery gasped. Marcus sat straighter, knowing Harris had just revealed his true self. Lisa called Marcus one last time. His hands shook as he rose, but his voice carried steady. "I'm not a rich man," Marcus began, "but I work hard. I pay my dues, and I deserve respect." Coming home that day to find my life scattered in the dirt, it broke something in me, but I chose to fight. Not just for me, but for every person like me who's been pushed aside. We deserve homes. We deserve dignity. And we deserve justice. The courtroom erupted in murmurs, some even clapping before the judge silenced them. Hours passed before the judge finally returned with her ruling. Everyone held their breath. "After reviewing the evidence and testimonies," she said firmly, "this court finds Mr. Harris guilty of unlawful eviction. He is ordered to compensate Mr. Johnson for damages, return his rightful property, and issue a public apology. Furthermore, his properties will undergo review to ensure compliance with tenant laws." Marcus closed his eyes, tears streaming. David gripped his shoulder tight. Lisa smiled proudly. Harris's face turned pale as the gavel came down. Justice had been served. The following morning, Marcus walked back to Jefferson Street. This time, he didn't see his belongings in the dirt. He saw possibility. The community had gathered to welcome him back, cheering and hugging him. Mrs. Jenkins cried, "You did it, baby. You did what none of us could." Marcus smiled, humbled. "We did it together. This ain't just my victory. It's ours." Later that week, Harris stood on local news, reading a forced apology. His voice trembled, his pride shattered. "To Marcus Johnson and the tenants I've wronged, I sincerely apologize." The community watched, satisfaction written on their faces. The man who once held power over them was finally held accountable. Marcus used the compensation money to replace what he had lost: his furniture, his books, even a new frame for his mama's picture. As he placed the photo back on the wall of his home, he whispered, "Mama, I did it. I stood tall, just like you taught me." His house felt different now, not just a shelter, but a symbol of resilience. Marcus's story spread beyond his block. Community groups invited him to speak about tenant rights. Churches asked him to share his testimony. He stood before crowds, not as a victim, but as a leader. "We may be working class, but we got power when we stand together. Don't ever let nobody tell you otherwise." Applause roared. Marcus realized his pain had birthed a purpose. One evening, as the sun dipped low, Marcus sat on his porch. Children played in the street, neighbors waved, and David joined him with 2 bottles of soda. "You ever think about that night?" David asked. Marcus nodded slowly. "Every day. But I don't see it as the night I lost my house. I see it as the night I found my voice." They clinked bottles, laughter filling the air. Marcus looked at his home, his hard-earned, fought-for home, and smiled. For the first time in a long while, peace settled in his heart. He wasn't just back in his house. He was truly home,